with Sam
If it's
Vecenie
so important, they
of
go and learn
CBS
laundry.
Sports. And this is sponsored by John Elway Chevrolet, Colorado's #1 Chevrolet dealer. Sam, welcome to the show.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, Sam, I'm going to ask you the same question Woody and I just asked each other. What's the upset that stands out most in your mind from the 4 days of basketball so far, and who's the most impressive player you've seen so far?
So the upset that stands out most in my mind, I would probably go with Iowa State over UAB. I didn't really think that UAB had the guns to stay with Iowa State at all. Like they were a middle of the country offensive team, and they finished 5th in Conference USA. Whenever the only reason they're really in the tournament is because I think the tournament is in Birmingham, so they got that home court advantage, or at least a slight home court advantage, even though it wasn't at their home floor. So I think that really helped them get through the tournament. And I didn't really think they were all that talented offensively to stay with one of the top 10 offensive teams in the country. So that was the biggest surprise for me. And then Villanova going out before the Sweet 16 was unbelievable to me. It was kind of unfathomable because they were playing an inconsistent team in NC State, and I guess those teams always have higher variance, but I really thought that the older guys at Villanova and, the senior leadership, they wouldn't really get rattled or shaken, but they really looked rattled or shaken against NC State, and I did not expect that at all.
Sam, you and I agree on that. Villanova going out so early, but as I pointed out to Les, that they have not made it past the second round since 2008, and their coach, Jay Wright, said, we got to own this. Yes, you got to own it. But the story of North Carolina State's pretty good, because would it be possible, guys, that we could see a repeat of 1983 where a North Carolina State team that nobody respects, that was a middle-of-the-road team, would go to the national championship and beat a team that was considered in the same light, if you will, as Phi Slamma Jamma, the University of Houston? Is that a possible scenario at all, Sam?
I wouldn't be terribly surprised if they ended up in the Final Four. That East region kind of opened up a little bit with Villanova and Virginia losing. So now you have teams like Michigan State, Oklahoma, and Louisville left, all four of whom have been very inconsistent throughout the year. So it's entirely possible that we see NC State make a surprise Final Four run, I think. I still default to Oklahoma in that region, but it wouldn't be a surprise if they got to the Final Four. But I think they would struggle with Gonzaga and Duke on that side of the bracket if they ended up in the Final Four, and I don't really know that I would give them a chance.
You're just peeing all over my fairy tale story, so we'll move on.
Sorry. It'd be a hell of a story for me.
Listen, he asked you the second question, and he said that Joseph Young
of Oregon,
out of Oregon,
extremely
was the most impressive player he'd seen, and Okafor continues to amaze me with his maturity and his ability to find the open man. Who has it been for you that you've gone, wow, I really like this kid's game?
Yeah, both of those guys are really good picks. I would side with Okafor just because he was even breaking guys down off the dribble and shooting floaters in that game against San Diego State this weekend, and I was shocked. I knew he could do that, but hey, that was a new rung for him to even be impressive. And the passing's always been, he's just incredible. And the defense has really, really ratcheted up. That's been the complaint with him this season, is that the defense hasn't always been there, but he's really protecting the rim well right now. And, I think like I said, Joe Young, that's a really good pick too. He kind of killed Wisconsin in the pick and roll and kept them in that game for the first 35 minutes before Wisconsin went on that late run. So Joe Young's a really good pick too, but I've defaulted Okafor. I think he's just been incredible in the tournament.
I've been telling Les for months that I want to see Duke and Okafor and that backcourt play against Kentucky, and I still believe. But also, what sort of chance do you give West Virginia? We haven't given them much love, but Huggins really is using a lot of players. They're effectively using the full court press as John Wooden's old UCLA teams did. What's your thoughts about West Virginia and what they've accomplished so far?
Yeah, West Virginia I think they were picked 7th or 8th in the Big 12 to start the year, and Bob Huggins has done a terrific job. He's a guy that molds his system to his talent. And before this season, he decided to go full court press, which he hasn't done in years, if he has done at all. And, Kentucky hasn't been great against the full court press. Yeah, they blew out Arkansas. They blew out, who else did they play with the full court press? They played someone else. I want to say maybe Tennessee. But, statistically, they're not great right now. Synergy Sports does a lot of tracking of NCAA stuff. And they only have them in the 44th percentile nationally against press defenses, which is far below any sort of, or any other way that they play in the half court. They're in like the 90th percentile against both man and zone defenses in the half court. So I think that it's going to be an interesting look for Kentucky to go against the zone or against the press. But again, I don't know that West Virginia has the guns to keep up with them on offense. I just can't see how they're going to score against Kentucky. So I don't know that it'll matter, but I'm at least intrigued in that game in a way that I wouldn't have been if someone like, say, Maryland would have been in there, who plays just very standard basketball and doesn't really do anything to take Kentucky out of their comfort zone.
How about the Golden State Warriors? Could they beat Kentucky?
Our guest is Sam Vecenie. He writes about college basketball for CBS Sports. Sam, has Kentucky shown you anything to make you think that they should not be a prohibitive favorite still?
No, they haven't. Cincinnati kind of physicaled them up a little bit, tried to really muscle them in the post, and it didn't matter. Like, Kentucky, you can be able to play any way that you want to play just because they're so deep. They have all of these players that even if their top two guys have an off night, like even if Karl Towns and Willie Cauley-Stein have an off night, you can go to Marcus Lee and Curry Johnson off the bench, both of whom would start for, I would say, every team in the country outside of Kentucky. So it's a really, really impressive group of kids, and I wouldn't think that they can really stick with Kentucky. Anyone can really stick with Kentucky. I think that Wisconsin, if they got hot from deep, they might be able to at least give them a game. But right now, I would say that Kentucky's the favorite to win.
Well, their cross-state rival, their Louisville, Rick Pitino's reaching out to Kentucky saying he thinks players should go right from high school to the NBA. Do you think that was a rip job at Kentucky, or he genuinely believes that?
He's poking Calipari in the eye here, isn't he, Sam?
Yeah, he kind of went out of his way, I thought, to note that Kentucky does it and he doesn't, which is interesting to me. But I actually agree with Rick. I think that guys should be able to go straight from high school to the NBA. The goal of college is to prepare these kids for their future jobs. And there's obviously life. You're trying to prepare kids for life in general. But these kids' lives are going to become like anything that college can really prepare them for, I think, just because they're going to be in the public eye, they're going to be in the public spotlight for their whole lives. So I don't really know how college benefits them if they're at that high level of a talent.
Yeah.
So I kind of agree with Rick, and I believe that Woody also.
Yeah, Les believes that you learn how to do laundry when you go to college, and I showed that you don't have to.
I was a little terrified learning about your laundry habits. It
worked out okay.
Somebody's got to teach you not to put the red in with the white, or everything's going to end up pink. All right, right?
Hey, Sam, you're really good.
Sam, let us know how people can read you and get a hold of you on Twitter as well.
Yeah, no, I'll just go to cbsports.com. I'll be on the college basketball side there for the rest of the tournament and for the rest of the year, obviously. And then, on Twitter, it's Sam_Vecenie, Vecenie. So give me a follow there if you want.
Sam, really appreciate your time and enjoy the rest of the tournament.
That was great observation. We appreciate it.
Guys.
All right,
Come
Sam
join us
Vecenie,
sometime.
CBSSports.com.
We'll
Check
do
him
your
out.
laundry.
And